1989 Upper Deck Baseball Cards, 28 Most Valuable. If you ever wondered what hobby royalty looks like, you can scroll back just a few years, like 30, and stop right there at 1989 Upper Deck Baseball Cards. That set stands at the far right end of the hobby timeline, punctuated by sets that changed the world forever. 1909 through 11 T206, 1933 Gaudi, 1952 Topps, 1981 Fleer, 1984 Donruss, and 1989 Upper Deck. And to the right of that, I can't really think of anything because for me at least, the center of the whole thing begins to unravel at that point. So, Upper Deck came along as the hobby boom was ready to peak and brought us all into the modern babbles that we love to hate. Tamper-proof packaging, anti-counterfeit holograms, chase cards, super premium photos on card fronts and backs, and thick white cardstock. And while we know today that 1989 Upper Deck is not really scarce, it's less plentiful than the other contenders of the era, Topps, Fleer, Donruss, Score. Yet those first Upper Deck cards are new enough and sturdy enough that there are plenty of actual perfect copies out there. All of that leads to an interesting scenario when we consider the most valuable 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards. Specifically, this list is built from recent eBay sales figures for blazing PSA 10 specimens of each card. As you'll see, the values are stout but not outrageous, at least not compared to other monumental cards that sell for 5, 6, 7 figures on a seemingly daily basis these days. But of course, you can't talk about 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards, and Upper Deck might not exist at all without starting here. 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. Rookie Card, number 1. So, as things stand now, this looks like the most important baseball card of the 1980s. And it is, at least sort of. I mean, it's the first card of the set, 1989 Upper Deck, that changed everything. And it's the first card of one of the game's top 5 or 10 talents of all time. And, well, it's been selling like gangbusters for more than 30 years now. So, I won't even mention that 1989 Upper Deck Griffey stands on the shoulders of 1980 Topps Joe Charbonneau and 1981 Topps Fernando Valenzuela and 1982 Topps traded Cal Ripken Jr. and 1983 Topps Ryan Sandberg, Tony Gwynn, Wade Boggs, and traded Darryl Strawberry, and especially 1984 Donruss Don Mattingly. Or 1985 Topps Mark McGwire, or 1986 Donruss Jose Canseco, or 1987 Bruce Fields, for that matter. Nope, this is the card of the man, and the Griffey rookie sells for more than any other 1989 Upper Deck baseball card today, as always. Value $1,400 to $1,600. 1989 Upper Deck Randy Johnson Rookie Card, number 25. In 1989, when this card was issued, Randy Johnson was just the latest of 3 Randy Johnsons to play in the major leagues, joining the Twins, Randy Johnson, and the Braves, Randy Johnson. They could have had a Randy Johnson party, I suppose, but this is more or less a family channel. Anyway, the big unit was already scaring batters across the land by the summer of 1989, but it was the May 25th trade that sent him from the Montreal Expos to Griffey's Seattle Mariners that changed the world. Because not only did the Spos landmark Blankston, but Seattle also added Gene Harris, Brian Holman, and as the PTBNL, Mike Campbell. I mean, Randy Johnson would go on and win 130 games and a Cy Young Award while striking out 10.6 batters per 9 for the M's. But how could he hold a candle to the aurora of Brian Holman? I mean, come on. Anyway, collectors seem to like Randy Johnson III, so much so that his 1989 Upper Deck rookie card lands in the second spot here. Value $100 to $130. 1989 Upper Deck Jose Canseco, number 371. Fresh off the first 40-40 season in Major League history, Jose Canseco was looking pretty smug in his 1989 Upper Deck baseball card. Hey, you would too. I know I would have. And with all the talent in the world, youth, and a great team, and miles of high-end baseball cards in my future, sure, Jose got pretty darn ridiculous pretty fast and stayed that way. But collectors' memories die hard, especially the good ones. Value $70 to $75. 1989 Upper Deck Nolan Ryan Rangers, number 774. Nolan Ryan has been a baseball legend of one sort or another since he first took the mound as a wild youngin for the New York Mets back in the 1960s. He spent the next couple of decades as the game's preeminent flamethrower, first for the California Angels and then for the Houston Astros. By the time the Ryan Express chugged into Arlington to begin the 1989 season with the Texas Rangers, he was the all-time strikeout leader and had 5 no-hitters to his name, which was a record or something. Even with all that, some still questioned his resume. Was he all flash and no substance? With Texas, though, Nolan Ryan picked up 2 more no-hitters, sailed past 300 wins, and bumped up that K record to north of 5,700. It all amounted to more or less an automatic Hall of Fame plaque and a spot near the top of about every baseball card list you can think of, including this one. Ryan's high number 1989 Upper Deck card, showing him tossing a football in the Rangers uniform, is eye-catching and a hobby favorite. Value $60 to $90. 1989 Upper Deck Kirk Gibson, number 666. The enduring image of the 1988 baseball season is Kirk Gibson limping to the plate in the ninth inning of Game 1 and then smashing the game-winning home run off of Dennis Eckersley, natural style. This card captures the immediate aftermath as Gibby rounds the bases, hobbling towards immortality. Any wonder why this is so high on this list? Value $60 to $80. 1989 Upper Deck Nolan Ryan Astros, number 145. Ryan always shows up on the most valuable lists, but 2 in 1 set? Yep, thanks to our expansion to include high number cards here. Nolan Ryan's first Upper Deck Rangers card, the one that we showed previously, is iconic, but his only Upper Deck Astro cards is also popular with collectors. Value $60 to $70. 1989 Upper Deck Rickey Henderson, number 210. After 4 years of smashing success in the Bronx, Henderson returned to the Oakland A's before the 1989 season. In that second go-around, Rickey turned up the heat on his game, which might have seemed impossible, to the extent that he became one of the most complete players in the game and a hobby icon. Upper Deck got in just under the wire for showcasing the greatest hot dog in his Yankee garb. Value $50 to $60. 1989 Upper Deck John Smoltz Rookie Card, number 17. This card exhibits a pattern that we'll see throughout our list. A 1989 Upper Deck rookie card of a superstar player, with only sort of a middling price tag for even a perfect copy. In Smoltz's case, it's also another Braves ace. And another Atlanta Braves ace who landed in Cooperstown to boot. Although Smoltz took a few twists and turns to get there. Nonetheless, another popular rookie card from this landmark set. Value $45 to $65. 1989 Upper Deck Mark McGwire, number 300. I've talked about this card before, but suffice to say that McGwire looks sufficiently Bunyan-esque here to make mere mortals feel physically inadequate by comparison. It also reminds us that McGwire was a monster slunger long before anybody had heard of Andro. So yes, steroids, but also baseball cards and home runs and memories and Rookie of the Year and Bash Brothers and 1985 Topps Olympic cards. This beauty sort of brings it all crashing back and is certainly one of the most striking of all 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards. Value $45 to $50. 1989 Upper Deck Barry Bonds, number 440. If you like to remember Bonds as the lithe, athletic, five-tool dude who could do anything on the baseball field, rather than the more lumbering, hulking beast that would eventually do everything in the batter's box later in his career, well, this card is for you. Still a year shy of nabbing his first National League MVP award, the future home run champion shows up here on his Upper Deck debut, peering in at the catcher, waiting for his chance to race from first to second. And if you don't like to think of Bonds at all, or you just sneer when his name comes up, well then you're just jaded. Try to stop and smell holograms once in a while, why don't ya? Value $35 to $50. 1989 Upper Deck Bo Jackson, number 221. Coming off a season in which he topped league average offensive production for the first time by measure of OPS+, Jackson entered the 1989 season as one of the most exciting players of the game. He delivered on that cresting hype for the first time and only All-Star appearance, while connecting with a career-high 32 home runs, driving in 105 RBI, and stealing 26 bases, all in a relative meager 135 games played. Meanwhile, hobbyists took to building their Bo Jackson collections in earnest, an avocation which has continued unabated across the decades, and despite a promising career tourniqueted by a devastating hip injury suffered on the football field during the January 1991 playoff games. This bright Bo card, like so many others Diamond issues, remind us of sunnier and more hopeful days. Value $30 to $50. 1989 Upper Deck Don Mattingly, number 200. Mattingly followed 3 seasons of Hall of Fame production, 1984 through 86, with 3 more at mere superstar levels. That slightly immortal run wrapped up in 1989, which put his inaugural Upper Deck card of Donnie Baseball right in the wheelhouse of the hobby boom, for which Mattingly and his amazing 1984 Donruss rookie card could claim a big hunk of the credit. The 1990s brought a gradual, or not so much so, slide into Cooperstown oblivion for the Yankees captain and left us all wondering what might have been if not for his chronically bad back. This Upper Deck gem, though, it's close enough to primetime Hitman as to be indistinguishable from the same. Value $30 to $50. 1989 Upper Deck Greg Maddux number 241. Maddux struggled fairly mightily in the first two seasons with the Cubs, to the tune of 8 and 18 combined record. Then, just in the nick of time to make some waves heading into the debut of Upper Deck, King of the Cardboards and future Mad Dog completely reversed course in 1988, posting an 18 and 8 record with a 3.18 ERA. A new star for a new set. And not only that, Upper Deck was one of the few 1989 cards to show Maddux in anything other than Cubby's pinstripes, for better or for worse. Value $35 to $40. 1989 Upper Deck Jim Abbott rookie card number 755. Much of the context and mystique has been lost over the years in the fine print of Abbott's journeyman major league record. But this is one of the coolest cards most of us had ever seen when it debuted in 1989. Here we have an Olympian and first-round draft pick who had all the makings of a staff ace. And, of course, the inspiration his story provided. As if all of that wasn't enough, Upper Deck captured Abbott in crystal clear action 3 times and flipped the whole thing on its side. They ate Sport Flit's Magic Triple Super Secret Motion Lunch and peed in the empty food tray and kissed their girlfriend on the way out of the lunchroom. Also, thanks to Dwayne Busey, the first Upper Deck design always looks much better with an angel involved. This is a cool card, and enough collectors remember that to keep it among the big hitters on the set. Value $30 to $40. 1989 Upper Deck George Brett, number 215. This is sort of an anomaly among 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards. A superstar cast in the shadows, when most of the issue's pasteboards were bright and SPF worthy. Here we had a gritty baseball legend who had to move to first base as his body crumbled bit by bit, thanks to the baseball diamond wars that he had endured over 15 years or so in Major League Baseball. A guy headed to the Hall of Fame, but who had run out of elite juice. A veteran who taped it all together one more time in 1990 to win his third batting title, which gave him one in each 1970s, 1980s, and 1990s. And then he tacked on a couple of more years and picked up 3,000 hits along the way. Yes, Mr. Pinetar may have been overcast here, but he wasn't quite done with the limelight yet. Value $30 to $40. 1989 Upper Deck Tony Gwynn, number 384. After home runs flew like F-bombs at Billy Martin rivals during the 1987 season, pitchers reclaimed their territory in 1988 with a vengeance, particularly in the National League. Want evidence? Tony Gwynn won his third batting title that summer with a not gaudy mark of .313. Collectors still loved him, though, and were happy to see him in the nifty new Upper Deck set. Mr. Padre rewarded us with a heftier .336 en route to yet another crown in 1989. It would be 5 more years before Tony claimed the top of the leaderboard, but when he did, he was a real smart aleck about it. .394, .368, .353, .372. 4 straight titles in his mid-30s from 1994 through 97, all but reserving his wings in upstate New York. Value $30 to $40. 1989 Upper Deck Mike Schmidt, number 406. Schmidt reeled off a surprising MVP season in 1986, picking up his third National League trophy, and then followed up with a top drawer, .295, 35 home runs, 113 RBI campaign in 1987 at age 37. But 1988 featured a tumble in production, 112 OPS plus, and then a rotator cuff injury killed the end of his summer, limiting him to 108 games overall. The Phillies legend came back mostly healthy in 1989, but struggled through 2 months, then abruptly retired in 1989. Somehow, Upper Deck managed to capture the flavor of that catastrophic run, for Schmitty fans at least, by showing the Phillies legend in front of a microphone rather than in front of a bag at third base or at the plate. Value $30 to $40. 1989 Upper Deck Gary Sheffield, rookie card, number 13. Something that's been sort of lost over the years in the glut of cards from the late 1980s is that the 1989 sets are fairly loaded with rookie cards. In most cases, it doesn't matter too much because 3 billion cards are 3 billion cards. But as you can see on this list, Upper Deck maintains enough swagger that the rooks can come home to the forefront. And speaking of swagger, that's something Mr. Sheffield has excelled in for years. Oh, and also hitting home runs to the tune of 509 in his 22-year career. Dude also has good enough OPB skills and speed to rack up 60 plus WAR. Sheffield has faced plenty of backlash over PED concerns and his general churlishness, but his Upper Deck rookie card is still a popular get in PSA 10. Value $30 to $40. 1989 Upper Deck Cal Ripken Jr., number 467. By 1989, Cal was starting to take the heat for his consecutive game streak, with detractors charging that his pursuit of Lou Gehrig was diminishing his overall game. Ripken weathered those slings and arrows and charged right ahead, kicking his game to another notch and winning the 1991 American League MVP award, his second. His first was in 1983. By the time Rip sailed past the Iron Horse in 1995, his legend was cemented, and collectors had latched on forever. Today, the Orioles hero checks in with a solid premium card debut here amongst the upper reaches of the 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards. Value $30 to $35. 1989 Upper Deck Ryne Sandberg, number 120. After winning the National League MVP award in 1984 and helping the Cubs to their first division title, Sandberg settled into a merely all-star level play for the rest of the 1980s. But while collectors were pulling this sunny, in-the-box rhino from our foil packs, Chicago's beloved second baseman was ramping up again, hitting .290 with a career-high 30 homers. That would be short-lived, though, as Sandberg hit 40 dingers in 1990 to lead the National League. And suddenly, Cooperstown seemed like a pretty good bet. Value $30 to $35. 1989 Upper Deck Astros Checklist, Nolan Ryan, number 669. This is an example of Upper Deck taking a page from their elders' playbook. Namely, thou must find a way to squeeze in as many cards of the hottest players as possible. So, not only do we get an Astros Nolan Ryan card and a Rangers Nolan Ryan card, but we also get an Astros Checklist Nolan Ryan art card, courtesy of Vernon Wells Sr. Yes, the father of the big contract, Vernon Wells. Does this make Nolan Ryan the king of the 1989 Upper Deck baseball cards? Well, the young Ken Griffey Jr. might have something to say about that, but the Express is certainly part of the royal court. Value $25 to $35. 1989 Upper Deck Craig Biggio, rookie card, number 273. Every card on this list, with the exception of the Rhino Triple Dips, is a first Upper Deck baseball card. Biggio's counts as a true rookie card, though, given that he appeared only in the 1988 Fleer Update and 1988 Score traded sets prior to 1989. And as with all 1989 Upper Decks, this one features a great design and quality photography. Otherwise, though, this is a pretty boring rookie card of a future Hall of Famer, especially considering this Killer Bee came up as a catcher. That's a position that supplies some amazing photo ops. But hey, moving a bat back and forth from one place to another with a blank expression on your face is a pretty good way to spin your rookie card too, I guess. Value $25 to $35. 1989 Upper Deck Edgar Martinez, rookie card, number 768. Are you sensing a theme here? Those late 1980s Mariners were a breeding ground for multiple Hall of Fame caliber careers, and their third baseman fit right into that mold. Well, except for the fact that Edgar was a designated hitter in waiting. Still, the fact remains that Martinez is one of the greatest hitters of his generation, and his legend in the Northwest, along with stellar plate numbers, of course, was enough to get him a plaque. Value $25 to $35. 1989 Upper Deck Kirby Puckett, number 376. After leading the Twins to a World Series title in 1987, Puckett got ridiculous in 1988, hitting .356 with Major League Baseball leading totals in plate at-bats at .657, hits .234, and total bases .358. He also stole all of 6 bases while getting nabbed 7 times. So, of course, Upper Deck put him on the base paths in their inaugural set. But hey, at least it gave us a Big Mac photobomb as a bonus. Value $25 to $35. 1989 Upper Deck Roger Clemens, number 195. Clemens looks pretty happy here on his first Upper Deck card, maybe a consequence of helping the Red Sox to their second division title in 3 seasons in 1988. Or maybe he foresees all the amazing things he would accomplish as his multiple peaks loomed. Probably hadn't glimpsed his ultimate baseball legacy, though. Value $25 to $30. 1987 Upper Deck Omar Vizquel, rookie card, number 787. In an era that saw the birth of the shortstop as a major league offensive weapon, sorry, Ernie Banks, the rebirth, Omar Vizcal was something of a throwback. Because while Ripken, Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez, and Nomar Garcia Parra and others were tearing the cover off the ball, Vizquel was making hay with his gold glove defense and decent but not great plate performances. And while Vizquel has a steep climb to Cooperstown from a numbers prospect, he was the building blocks for those early Griffey Unit Mariners team and an absolute cog in the middle of the great Indians teams later in the 1990s. There was quite a groundswell of support for his candidacy that seemed to have him chugging towards an eventual election a few years ago, until details about some of his recent and not so recent behavior likely sunk his Hall of Fame ship forever. Still, plenty of collectors remember the good times on the field, and this card maintains a solid following. Value $25 to $30. Bonus: errors among the perfection. So 1989 Upper Deck was the perfect set. Just ask them and all their promotional materials from the era. But even perfection is relative, especially when you're crashing the party of a bunch of companies who spent a decade feeding error card mania, wittingly or not. Here are a couple of Upper Deck's early contribution to the art form. 1989 Upper Deck Gary Sheffield rookie card, SS upside down, number 13. Remember the discussion of why Sheffield was important as a prospect and why he might still be important in future Hall of Fame discussions? For the purpose of this entry, though, subtlety is the name of the game, not necessarily Sheffield's strong suit. Here, the position designation is the thing. Where that little SS in the upper right-hand corner is, get this, upside down. It's tough to see, but if you squint, you can tell that the fat ends of the two S's are at the top here. But in the normal Sheffield entry, those thick curves are on the bottom as attended. And according to the PSA population report, fewer than 1 out of every 30 Sheffield rookie cards they've handled is upside down. And of those, only about 1 out of 15 grades in a perfect 10. So yeah, they're in premium city here. Value $500 to $1,000. 1989 Upper Deck Dale Murphy reverse negative, number 357. While the Sheffield error is subtle and took a while to surface in any kind of broad way in the hobby circles, this one is in your face and rumbled through collectordom right away. Here we have one of a handful of the most popular players in the 1980s smiling kind of cockeyed at us, with the Atlanta Braves A on his cap looking like it's about ready to blow off into the Fulton County Airstream. And Murphy has his bat on his left shoulder. No matter where your fandom lay, this card just felt off whenever you first laid eyes on it. And then your eyes fell to the Murphy jersey and you saw it. The picture is flipped. Mania ensues. Unlike the Sheffield rookie card, PSA has actually graded more Murphy error cards than Murphy corrected cards. But mere facts can't stop a hobby juggernaut. Value $500 to $600. Wax Pack God